Okay, guys, so we are still talking about weather, and I know last week for science our weather was um, kind of short on it. I know we talked about the vocabulary. I know we only tracked weather for one day, but we're gonna read a little bit more about weather and kind of work on it the rest of the week. So you have this handout now. Mine's in color, yours is in black and white. So we're gonna read some information about weather, and then you'll have some activities to do on your own for today. And so let's start talking about weather. We're going to start with reflect. So just kind of follow along. I'm going to be highlighting some important things. You can underline them, highlight, because they may help you in the activities that you're going to have to do. So let's start. Amy got up early this morning. She was excited to wear her new summer clothes to school. She put on her yellow shorts with pink flowers. She pulled on the matching t-shirt, slipping her feet into bright pink flip-flops. She ran to the door. As she flung open the door, she heard a crack of thunder. Drops of rain splashed on her toes. It was pouring outside. A cold breeze made her shiver. How could this happen? It was beautiful yesterday. So sometimes, guys, we put on clothes and then we get outside the door and the clothes we are wearing are not really appropriate for the weather outside. What observations and comparisons can we make about day-to-day weather conditions? Poor Amy had to change out her new clothes. She was happy to use her red umbrella, though. Amy did not see the clouds the night before. Otherwise, she might have expected rain this morning. The wind had also started to blow. That is another sign of changing weather. Weather can change from day to day or even hour to hour. So that's important to know. It can change from day to day, hour to hour. And we kind of know that. How many times have we walked out of the door in the morning and then we go to school, or by lunchtime you go outside and it's cold outside, or went from cold to hot? Or one day it's raining and the next day it's sunny. One day it's 30 degrees and the next day it's 70 degrees. So weather is constantly changing, guys. The type of clothes you decide to wear depend on the weather outside. We all know that. You know, we kind of check the weather. I know I check the weather before I before I get my girls up in the morning and put their clothes on. I kind of check the weather. Or ask my husband, like, hey, is it going to be cold today? Is it going to be hot? It's just so I know I don't want to put them in long sleeve shirts and a pair of jeans if it's going to be 90 degrees outside. So weather plays a big part in what clothes we're going to choose for the day. The type of clothes you decide to wear depend on the weather outside. Take a look at these photos. What type of clothes would you choose in each case? So your pictures are black and white, but mine are colored. So let's kind of take a look at what kind of clothes. This is beach. So what kind of clothes would you wear for that picture? Some of you may say, well, I'm going to go out in my bathing suit. If you go to the beach, yes, that sunny weather is like shorts, flip-flops, tank tops, short sleeve shirts. We're going to wear warm clothes. Let's take a picture. Look at this one. This is going to be fall cool weather because the trees are starting to change. So I'm going to start wearing pants and tennis shoes with socks, maybe long sleeve shirts, because the weather is going to be not super cold, but a little chilly. And I might need a jacket. This is rain. So I'm for sure going to make sure I have a raincoat, an umbrella, pants. I probably don't need a long sleeve shirt, but I need a jacket to cover me. And this is cold. I see icicles. Think about 2 weeks ago, we had that really bad cold winter storm that came to Texas. What kind of clothes were you wearing then? Like jackets. We were wearing long sleeve shirts. Some of us were wearing more than just one pair of clothes. We had to layer up. We had thick jackets on, long sleeve sweaters, like those jogging fluffy pants. So what the weather is outside is going to determine what we wear. Okay, so let's turn the page. You actually have a back. So yours is front to back, mine's not. So you're going to be looking at look out. It is important to know what the weather might be like. Weather affects how we get to school. It may also affect the machine workers use to build a house or clean a yard. During strong storms, we stay inside to be safe. You cannot tell the weather by looking outdoors or by studying a photo. It could be pouring rain, yet feel hotter than before the rain started. You may go for a hike on a bright sunny day, only to walk right into a chilly wind. If our eye can trick us, how else can we tell what the weather will be like? So sometimes we can't just look outside to see. It could be a very nice, bright, sunny day, but when we walk outside the door, it can be cold. So sometimes just by looking outside is not going to help us. So let's kind of think about what are some other ways that we can see what the weather is besides just using our eyes. Scientists use tools to help figure out different weather conditions around the world. Okay, and we're going to talk about some of those tools. A scientist who studies weather is called a meteorologist, and those are the people we see on TV. We can also use those same tools to help us figure out the weather in our area. What tools can we use to gather information? So temperature tells us how much energy something has. Okay, not only does it tell us how hot or cold, but how much temperature or how much energy. When something has a lot of energy, it usually feels hot. Oh, I didn't know that. So when something has a lot of energy, it usually feels hot. When something does not have a lot of energy, it usually feels cold. The tool to measure temperature is a thermometer. So I know we've all seen a thermometer. They all look different. We use that to check our temperature if we're not feeling good. You can use a thermometer to measure the temperature outside. So this is a thermometer, and they come in different shapes, sizes. They look different. Can't we just look at a thermometer to predict the weather? No. Weather is more complicated than that. Precipitation, wind, and air pressure also affect weather. So a lot of these things affect our weather. So let's learn what each one of these are. Precipitation. The rain that made Amy wet is precipitation. So is the snow that people ski on. Precipitation is snow, hail, sleet, rain, or any other kind of moisture that falls from the clouds. Not just the sky, but the clouds, guys. Oh. Okay. Just trying to focus. Wind. Air that moves from one area to the other is called wind. Wind moves clouds around the planet. This causes weather to change. Okay, so it's air that's moving from one area to the other. Air pressure. Air is made up of tiny gas particles. You cannot see these, though. Even though we can't see them, they add up and can press down on large areas like our city or state. This force is called air pressure. Knowing the air pressure can help us predict rain or snow. It can even tell us to watch out for a hurricane or tornado. So, how can we describe air pressure? Air pressure, so air is made up of tiny gas particles, and even though we cannot see them, they add up and can press down. Knowing the air pressure, that one's kind of hard to define. So air pressure is tiny gas particles that press down on large areas. So we're going to put that. So tiny gas particles that press down on large areas. So let's look at this picture. It says it looks like it's freezing in this photo. The thermometer tells us that's true. Weather freezes below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so let's turn over. This one is a try now. This is just telling us how How you can tell how much precipitation has fallen by using a rain gauge. Make your own rain gauge. This way you can tell how much rain, hail, snow falls at your home. So a rain gauge, this rain gauge measures precipitations in inches and centimeters. So a rain gauge is going to measure how much precipitation in inches and centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to skip over this part. If you want to read this to see how you can make one, you can do that. We're going to start down here that says, how can we measure the air? Now, how can you measure air when you can't see it? So let's look. A wind vane shows you wind direction. The direction the wind vane is pointing shows you where the wind is coming from. Don't get confused. A wind vane does not point in the direction the wind is blowing. If the arrow is pointing north, the wind is coming from the north and blowing to the south. Ooh, that can be a little confusing. A barometer is a tool that measures air pressure. When the air pressure falls, a low pressure system is moving into the area. These systems usually cause rain or other storms. If the air pressure rises, a high pressure system has arrived. So if air pressure falls, a low pressure system is moving into the area. If the air pressure rises, a high pressure system has arrived. The weather will likely be clear but colder. So here are some pictures. It says the left picture is a wind vane. So this is a wind vane. The wind vane is pointing towards the direction the wind is coming from. The right image is a barometer. The gold needle shows the normal air pressure of the time of day and year. The black needle shows the current air pressure. It would be kind of hard to read for me. Let's look at where it says reflection. Scientists in the spotlight. Evangelista Torsolini. Barometers are used every day to predict weather. I'm going to say E.T. invented this useful tool more than 300 years ago. Guys, when you come across a name you don't know how to pronounce, you just say the first letter. T was an Italian scientist who taught math. He solved some of the hardest math problems of his time. T discovered the barometer while he was trying to solve another problem. Miners struggled with water pooling on the floor of the mines. Pump makers tried to pump out the water. However, they could raise the water only about 10 meters. They needed to raise the water higher to get rid of it. People thought it must be a problem with the pumps. T thought it might be the pressure of air pushing down on the water. He designed an experiment using the element mercury. Mercury is much deeper than water. He would have had to use a lot more water in his experiment to see a similar result. T filled the tube with mercury. He turned the tube upside down and placed it in the pool of mercury. He found that if the air pressure is high, the mercury level in the tube rises. T had discovered the barometer. His barometer proved that air pressure was causing the problem with the water pump. Interesting. How can we record weather information? Tools like thermometers help us know more about the weather outside. If we record measurements from different times or places, we can compare these results. This helps us predict what the weather will be like. So that's kind of like what the scientists do. Here are some tips for recording data about the weather. Use the same journal each time. Make your recordings at the same time of day. Also use the same unit of measurement each time. For example, in the United States, most people record temperature in degree Fahrenheit. So that's very important to know. We use degree Fahrenheit. However, scientists usually record temperatures in Celsius. And that's more of like a European type. I know in other countries they use a lot of Celsius versus Fahrenheit. Precipitation should be recorded in centimeters. I did not know that. Okay, so your job is to do the try now. So there are 3 activities. So the first one, you have 2 graphs. So the first one, it says, graphs are a great way to compare your results. There are several kinds of graph. Bar graphs show the number of lines with bar graphs show numbers as lines with different lengths. So here's our bar graphs. According to this bar graph, which month received the most rain during 2011-2012 in Houston? Okay, so you got to look at the lines, their number. This is counting by 2s. So if it's counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, what numbers do you think are going to be in between? Odd numbers. So this would be 1, 3, 5, and 7. So if it falls in the middle, it would be those numbers. Okay, the next one is a line graph. Line graphs show trends over time. According to this line graph, when were temperatures in Houston the lowest during the 2011-2012? When were they the highest? So the red line is showing the lowest. The blue line is showing the highest. So you're going to have 2 answers for this one. And you're picking the months, guys. The months. So this is counting by 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. In the middle, it's going to be counting by 5s. So this would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and so on. Okay? And then the very last activity is actually a word search. Okay, and so the word search, this is how we do it. So these numbers are going across 2, 4, 7, and 10. These numbers are going down 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. So for instance, number 2, an instrument that measures temperature outside. Here's your word bank. Some water. So would that be air pressure, precipitation, thermometer, wind vane, barometer, rain gauge, weather, meteorologist, temperature, wind? And you can go back to look for the answer, and a lot of it's going to be what I've highlighted. So an instrument, that's our keyword, an instrument that measures temperature. We know that is a thermometer. So in number 2, I'm going to write thermometer, and each letter gets its own box. So T-H-E-R-M-O-M-E-T-E-R. And if it fits. Now, if you notice, number 3 going down is going to start with the letter T. Okay, so you need to fill in all of these. When you finish, upload the pictures so I can see your answers.